she kind of hesitated when she was asked if her and homeboy Tory Lanez had slept together. Then you can kind of see it was kind of like edited from that part, and then it went right back to her. So it's a lot of holes in there, man. For me, I feel like I got to get a little more. You know what I'm saying? To really give my true opinion and thoughts on that. Because and also in all honesty, I don't even follow Megan Thee Stallion like that. In all honesty, um, you know what
I
I'm
knew you was gonna say that.
saying?
Let
Yeah, I
me
really
ask
don't
you. Let,
follow her like that.
let me ask you a question. How do you think? What do you think the outcome is mentally? What type of an effect you think is going to have on our millennials, the black millennials, when they see two people in the limelight get into a fight and somebody gets shot? What
Hmm.
type of what type of effect do you think it's going to have on black folk?
I think it's going to have the same effect it's been having on black folks for years, for decades. Like her story, her and Tory Lane's story. That's it's really nothing new. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to it, um, psychologically, yeah, the impact is going to have um is a continued violence against your own kind. It's a continued effort. Um, I made a post a little earlier. I think it was yesterday or today about there not being anything a such thing as black on black violence or black on black crime. But I think that's one of the views that our millennials would get is that our millennials would receive is that black on black violence, um, black life is not really important to each other. You know what I'm saying? So when that black male sees that black female, he don't see himself inside of her. And when that black female sees that black male, she doesn't see herself inside. There's going to be any value. Um, and like I said, that's been going on for decades. That's nothing new. Their situations happen at all the time. We just don't hear about it depending on where we living at. Um, but you turn on First 48, you see that happens all of the time.
What do you think about what do you think about them, meaning the dominant society, portraying us as violent? What do you think about that?
But the irony in it, right? I mean, like it's crazy because what I think about it is that it's hypocritical. It's very much hypocritical. It's in the dominant society to always display um, black folks as being aggressive, violent, disrespectful, disobedient, um, highly aggressive, highly hostile. It's always in their best interest to portray us this way because now they have a reason to come back and try to so-called fix the problem, which the problem started with them all along. We black people naturally are not violent. Naturally, black people are not violent. Um, if you leave black people alone for about 20 years, they will build. You leave black people alone for 20 years, they will build. Um, you be we see this, we've seen this with the Black Wall Street, Rosewood. We've seen this with all the black neighborhoods when segregation was really strong, when it was really hitting heavy, and we couldn't integrate with the whites, we had no choice but to go back amongst ourselves, and we started building. We began to build, and this was happening all over the country. Now I know, like at that point in time, in the early 1900s, that was more of a time where we were just being, we wasn't too far removed from slavery and, well, from the emancipation and sharecropping. You know what I'm saying? So we had a bigger reason to connect with each other. The poison had not taken full effect the way that it's taken now. I'm talking about the brainwashing poison. Now the brainwashing poison is in full effect. But again, black people are naturally not violent. That's not in our nature, but it is in the Europeans' nature. They are naturally violent. They're naturally hostile, but they have to play this, project that behavior on us so they can justify their mistreatment and their killing, their violence against us as black people. A black person, we didn't over here in America, we didn't put a gun into another black man's hand or to another black woman's hand and say, this is how you shoot. We didn't start out like that. They taught us how to do it. You know, many of us learned how to we just watched and we said, okay, this is how you do it. And I mean, how hard is it to really pull a trigger? You know what I'm saying? So many of us had already picked up violent ways from their society, and their society is their culture. That's what society is. Like, your society is not outside, it's not around a corner. Society is in you. So if you have a
Which
violent, yeah,
no, no my question within that question is: would you say we are a sick society? Would you say we're a sick society?
I say we are a sick society now because of the virus that has been placed on us as black folks. Like, again, we've been met with violence from the time our ancestors got here, or from the time that our ancestors were already here and seen the Europeans arriving on the seashores or along the ports. We were met with violence from them. Prior to that, the world was in harmony. I'm not saying the world had perfection. We didn't, nobody had perfection. There was still wars happening, but it wasn't to a great extent as what the European brought about. So they brought about this sickness, this mental illness, this racism. They brought that about. They brought it right to us, and when they brought it to us, we weren't prepared, because we looked at it as, from the standpoint as we still look at it now as black folks. We look at it as, we have humanity. Perhaps the other folks, perhaps these white folks will have humanity. That's the way we looked at it then. Sorry, that's the way we looked at it then. This is the way we're looking at it now. You know, um, so yeah, we are partially sick, definitely, but it's not on our own steam. It's definitely on their accord. They set the system up for us to be in the conditions that we are in now. They set that up. The dominant society, white racism, white rage, they set that up.
So let me ask you a question. Would it be a fair question to say, my brother, if I came to you and I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go get my degree, and then I'm gonna go work for a Fortune 500 company, and I'm gonna be all I can be." What would be your response to the average black person when they ask you they ask you that question if they can be all they can be in this society.
You can never really truly be all that you can be in this society because this society was never created for us. And this constitution, these constitution, the articles that was transformed into the constitution, and all of these laws, and they were never dedicated for us. They were never talking to us. Period. So you can never truly be all that you can be in a society that was never created for you. It's like it's similar to trying to fit a square inside of a circle. You would have to expand that circle. But if you don't plan on making any adjustments, you can't do it. So no, you can definitely go and do your thing. You can make some things happen. Working for a Fortune 500 company, you can make some things happen. You can do things that would benefit your people, building your nation, but being all that you can really be, you have to think in nationhood, and that would have to be transferring resources, which I think they're not willing to do at all.
Why do you think that they're not willing? The dominant society, other racial groups, they come here, they get their liquor stores and their businesses. Why do you think they're not willing to share with the people who made it possible for them to have these resources? Why is that?
Well, because that'll mean they have to give up. The Europeans showed they're willing to give up power. They're not willing to share power, not with us. This is why the fight for reparations, it's going to be a really tough one, because uh, th- they would have to give up their power. They have to give up, and their power comes along with their privilege. It's attached. They're not going to do that. They haven't done it in centuries. Why would they do it now? See, with the way things are now, I mean, if you put blacks in power, um, we can really dominate this world. See, they wasn't, before, when you take a look at maybe like 200 years ago, they knew that they were the minority in the world, but they believed that they can continue their domination on their own. They didn't think that they would mix as much with us as they would. They thought that segregation thing was going to really rock real hard. This way wasn't. Unfortunately, we can't. A lot of our folks can't stay away from them. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to just having families and relationships. However, now that they see that they are a minority in the world, like they understand within probably 80 to 100 years from now, um, there probably won't be a white to exist on the planet. There will probably not be any pure whites to exist. So with all of this, they got to maintain their power while they have it now, and they're gonna do what? They're gonna spread their society, their civilization amongst others. This is why they're bringing the other groups from outside, the Ukrainians, the Latinos. Oh man.
Oh, did we lose you? Oh, you was just getting going. Key Mario, man, what's happening? I think we lost that brother. Dang. Man. Key Mario, let me know if you want to get in here and say something and drop some knowledge until our brother comes back. But man, this the thing too. That's why I can't wait till we build our own. have our own, do our own thing as far as technology is concerned. Because I feel like I'm waiting for a person to come along and code and build an app, but we ain't got to be dealing with these technical difficulties and all this other stuff. Because I think that's real important. You know what I mean? But man, hopefully he's able to come back into the room. Oh, he had to leave the room. Dang. We'll wait a minute or two, see if my brother come back and see what's going on. I think my brother's phone was tripping. That's what happened with these cell phones, man. Some of them work good, and then all of a sudden it's a problem. And I think that it's time for us to start, like my brother David said, nation building and handling business, man, because, you know, we're so depending on them and everything that they create and everything that they do. And we're not worried about us being nation builders, as our brother talked about. Here, my brother just sent the request, so I'm gonna approve it. Hopefully, he's able, to get back on. But yeah, my brother, you go ahead, unmute yourself if you can go ahead and speak. I was just speaking to how you were saying. You're right. We're not nation building, and we are dependent on them. And why would they want to give us resources? Because they know what we're capable of doing. Do you think that people still feel like they see us in a different light now? Do you feel like black folks feel like, oh, the dominant society of the racial groups, they fuck with us because because of hip hop? Do you feel like that, or do you feel like black folk are starting to open up their eyes and see that, hey, a lot of these other racial groups don't mess with us? Oh, I think we lost him again. I think we lost him again. Dang. Well, hopefully he can come back and we can get him on. He's connecting. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's probably his cell. Let's see if he'll come back. Let's see. We're gonna see if he'll come back. If not, you know what I mean? We'll just have to reconvene. I think Mario kind of busy. He just tapped in real quick. But man, I know what it is, man. We just gonna probably have to reconvene. Can you hear us, my brother? Yeah, we lost him again. Sheesh. Yeah, that's probably his phone. But yeah, man, we gotta really think about nation building. Can you hear me now, my brother? Yeah, it's probably your phone. You probably in the area where there ain't no towers.
Yeah, I definitely have really weak signal over here. I took
Yeah,
I
yeah,
took I took my
yeah.
phone off the Wi-Fi though. That's probably why I took.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I took mine off too because it'll do that when you on the Wi-Fi, and then it'll just start tripping, man. These towers, man, they ain't what everybody think they are. But yeah, man, go ahead. Speak back to what you was talking about, man.
No, what I was saying was dang, I forgot what your question was. It was a good question too.
Oh no, I was just saying, do black people feel like, oh no, we've moved on? Other racial groups, they accept us, and you know what I mean? Or do we believe that to be true, or have a lot of us awakened and been like, you know what? No, other racial groups don't accept us, and they keeping us around to be bloodsuckers of the poor, bloodsuckers of cultural appropriation? Like, or do they just keep us around because we're the innovators, or are we around and we're the most popular racial group because they really do see who we are and they care about our well-being?
As a black people as a whole globally, no, we have this illusion that we still have friends. You know what I'm saying? We have this illusion that these other race groups are our friends. We have this illusion about that because they tell us that they were in a struggle with us, and they, we fall for it every time. And then when it's their time to advance, they leave us behind. Like you see a classic point with this with the Asians when they came here, um, immigrating here in the 1800s and then in the 1960s, and when they were coming here, we welcomed them with open arms. Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton, all of them in Chicago, with their chapter over there in Chicago, shoo, they was feeding the Asians along with the blacks side by side. The Asians took 20 years, got themselves together, and when it was their time to advance, they left us behind. Then they looked back at us and said, yo, because y'all ain't build your own nation, y'all on your own. Y'all need to unite. But we fed them in their time of need. They was never there for us. Same thing happened with the Latinos. And I don't mean the black Latinos, and I'm talking about the Latinos, the Spaniard Latinos, people who really think that they can fit within the white dominant society. They struggled with us in the projects, but they came over late. You see, we had been over and occupying these so-called projects and all like that. Um, After the Jews left and they pulled the resources from our neighborhoods, and now our neighborhoods were created to be a ghetto. We didn't create the ghetto, they created the ghetto. Um, these Latinos said we struggle with y'all, and this is why we can say nigga too, because we all went through it, we all struggled, we all was the same, right? And they feel like they had that same level of fight with us. Now that they're coming along, and now that Joe Biden has said, you got told, he told our black leaders, our so-called black leaders, you guys are going to have to learn how to work with the Latinos, right? I mean, he told them that, and now we go along with this black and brown thing, and we're welcoming in these Middle Easterns, and they're getting ahead and leaving us behind, and they're saying, hey, you guys got to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. See, we fight as black folks, we fight, but our fight is amongst our we fight in a struggle on our own. These other race groups side up with the white society, not understanding that their white society is created to fight against the black society, black folks, the black race. If they can keep us dominated and keep us suppressed, they'll always be ahead economically and financially. They don't want to lose out financially. It all goes to finances. They don't want to lose out on that because they know what that'll bring them right back to the icebox that they came from. You know what I'm saying?
That was the cold one. Let me ask. I'm gonna hit you with the question. So I got another question. Would you saying what you just said, and there's evidence and facts and data to prove that, then why are we, as a people, so convinced that we need to include everybody in our struggle?
That's an excellent question. Because of our humanity. That's how we've always been. From the beginning of time to now. You know? And a lot of the times it's been very unfortunate. It's been times where it's actually made me upset. It's made me it's I've been embarrassed to be a black person in some time, in some points. It's been embarrassing for me to be an African person, African American person. It's been embarrassing. We have that humanity that just is in us because Again, the society is a part of your culture. The society is your culture, and our society was a we society, and we still live like that, despite of what they show on the news, or what they show in media, despite of these symbols that they put out there to try and advertise and promote what all black people are like. We still have a humanity about us that no other race group has, especially not the whites. All right. I can remember when there was that shooting that happened a couple of years ago in South Carolina, where this white dude walked up into that church, had service with them, prayed with them, did the Bible study with them, and and after the service was over, or during the service, he shot these people up. And then what did these black people from the church say? We need to pray for him. Like he just executed your members, and you're talking about praying for him. That right there made me upset. I was embarrassed to be the black person at the time, man. Because it's like, yo, they're putting them on camera and they're representing all of us. Like, they're, whether we like it or not, that's their representation. Everybody needs representation. That's the representation they're giving the world of us. That you can do us wrong, even kill our people, and we are supposed to pray. When you look at it, you take a look at, like, when the bombing that happened in Birmingham, when they used to call it Birmingham, the bombing that happened in Birmingham that killed these little girls, and I think it was only about one survived, but it killed these little girls, our little girls. What was Martin Luther King response that at the time? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't I'm not talking about reparations Martin Luther King. This is still the integration Martin Luther King. He said, if when blacks wanted to go out and ride on these white folks, he said, let the blood, if the blood gonna be spilled, let it not be spilled on our white brothers and sisters. And that's what made a lot at that point, a lot of people turn away from King and this whole civil rights thing, and they start, Malcolm X and Stokely Carmichael, their sayings, their speeches, their ideology began to really kick in. Then people who wasn't even a part of Islam was really starting to take in Elijah Muhammad's words of your nationhood. Like, these were the words he gave years ago, and it's soaking in now. You know what I'm saying? So even at that point, it's embarrassing because we always have to turn around and forgive these people when they do us wrong. But they can continuously lie to us, cheat, steal, kill, destroy. They even gone a length of killing our children. They show that they would kill our children. They have no problem with doing it. They'll do it illegally by lynching, and they'll do it legally by the electric chair with George Steiny, right? They have no problem with doing these things. We have a problem with doing this with them. So we always have that side of humanity that feels like, yo, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, brother, I can hear you
Oh,
just
okay,
fine.
okay,
You perfect.
okay, cool, cool. Yeah, so we always have that part of humanity that says we need to invite people in with us. If we have a little, everybody has, right? If we eat, everybody eats. That's the way it was even during the Great Depression, when these whites and these other groups, was mainly whites, when they were suffering, starving to death and dying because they didn't know how to till and take care of the land. We already knew how to do that because we had been doing it during slavery. So yeah, during enslavement. So we already knew how to build for self, eat for self, grow, and things like that. They didn't know how to, and even during that time, although it was still segregation, we still allowed some of them into our neighborhoods and into our homes to eat. That's something a lot of folks don't talk about, but it's definitely there. It's history, it's facts. Where there's some blacks who were still allowing the whites to come on in, even though they wasn't supposed to. Come on in, you can eat with us. It's that side of humanity that we've always had. So even along with our businesses and everything like that, we've been taught and conditioned to put everybody else first and put ourselves last. But that wasn't prior to European contact, it wasn't like that. We put everybody else first and we still put our families first. We still had a humanity. We welcome you in, but you're not having sex with our women. You're not reproducing with our women. Now that's transferred to where um, we want to be integrated into their society and we want to live and be like them. We want to do everything like these folks. So it's a situation again where reason why we want to include them in is because of our humanity, even the groups that do us wrong. We want to include them in. We want to allow them to come in because we want them
So
to
let
be a
me ask
part
you.
of what we're doing.
My bad. So, with you saying that, let me ask you another question.
Yes.
Do you think that it was appropriate for Meg The Stallion with an ongoing trial? And I know my brother's not FBA. He's not FBA. You know, he's from Canada. Do you feel like it's necessary for her to speak out publicly and basically create the narrative that yeah, he shot me? Do you feel like it's necessary for her to do that?
Oh man, that's a good one. Um, I think you go two ways with that, man. Um, in the big way, it's going to it'll end up promoting um, this it'll continue to push this narrative of the angry black man upon this soft spoken victimized type black woman type of thing. And I'm not saying that she's not, but I'm saying it pushes that narrative, um, and it can create a couple of problems. So do I think it was? Do I think it was necessary? That one, I honestly, I wouldn't know at the moment. I can't really give the answer to that one at the moment. Um, because again, this can go two ways. Um, so I really can't give the answer to that one if it was
No, no.
necessary.
The reason why, and I'm glad you said that. Let me bring clarity to it. I'm saying it within. If you notice, Johnny Depp is on trial too, but nobody's talking about Johnny Depp because they're talking about Meg The Stallion. So, do you feel like a lot of times our trauma, our hurt, our pain, our inter violence between each other gets put on the jumbotron while everybody else's is being basically obfuscated or hidden? Because think about it like this. The reason why I asked you that, and that was good because you were like, I don't really have an answer because I didn't give clarity. My clarity is this. You know this Johnny Depp is on trial because his girl is trying to basically say his girl is basically her ex-girlfriend is trying to say he was like sexually explicit and he was just doing all kinds of crazy shit to her and stuff like that. As soon as this trial comes up, we stop talking about that. The Ghislaine Maxwell trial is about to start. Well, it's already starting, but nobody knows what's going on. And then all of a sudden, here comes Gayle King with her divestment wig interviewing Meg The Stallion about him. I'm not saying that what that brother did, I'm warranting, because I wouldn't warrant a brother shooting a female like that. I don't think that's warranted. What I'm saying is, don't you think it's convenient? And do you think it's necessary with me making clarity now? Like, is it really necessary for her to come out and do that? Happened 2 years ago, and now you're speaking about it. And you got Johnny Depp on trial for sexual misconduct. You got Ghislaine Maxwell on trial for her stuff, her sexual misconduct and pedophile stuff that she was doing. That's what I feel like. We're so quick to want to tell on each other Let's let these people tell on each other. That's what I mean. Do you feel like it's necessary for her to do this now? Because she could have came out and started talking about it right when she got shot, and she lied. And now she's coming out and saying it right around the time Johnny Depp's trial is going on and Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. So do you feel like it's necessary for that?
Absolutely not. It's not. But remember, this is Gail King. Um, this is the same woman who had all of these years to interview Kobe Bryant. She waits until he die, and and she wants to bring up these questions of to Lisa Leslie about his case that happened probably about 20 years ago. This whole Kobe Bryant, the rapist guy. She was, what I'm saying, this is what she do. This is what she does. She's a part of those small group of women who are seeking out to destroy reputational wise. They're looking to destroy black men. Um, this is why I said, and I'll repeat it, and even in your other podcast, I said we have to take things behind closed doors and keep it there. This is a situation where we got to talk about this behind closed doors, because as soon as you put this out in the public eye, again, now they can create a narrative because they control the media. So they can actually report news. The media can report news and they can make news. So we have to ask that question: are they reporting the news or making news? In this sense, Megan Thee Stallion is not recognizing that fact. Is this being made, or are they actually reporting? We misunderstood, and we still misunderstand now how the European works. They tell us all the time, but we don't sit down long enough to listen to each other, to listen and read, to understand what steps need to happen next. What strategies can we plan so that reputation wise, our men and women are not ruined? You know what I'm saying? And I think when you think about it in this aspect, man, the angry black man will be pushed out. The abusive black man, the black man that's seeking to harm black females. So being that he's looking to harm you, black females, I think you guys got to move to another race now. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna mix and mingle with another race now, because you got ain't no good black men out here. These black men are shoot you. It's creating that type of narrative, which I know a lot of black women don't believe, but they're placing this out in the forefront in the media, and it goes back to your question earlier. The millennials are watching. So what are we telling them to combat this? Because right now, what's the combat? Okay, this story is out. She brings this out. She said this happened so this happened around like the George Floyd killings, when everybody was on lockdown and all that.
Yes, it did. And that's funny because she said that in the interview. But my thing, you touched on so many good points, my nigga. You on fire right now because you you touched on all the points. And my question is again, how you said, you know what? Some things are to remain behind closed doors. That brings me to when me and my mom used to go back and forth about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And my mom would always fold. And when I mean fold, my brother, she would always fold when I would say, Mom, John F. Kennedy was having sexual relations with thousands of women while he was the president. Thousands of women. Nobody on his side of the fence ever said anything. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is responsible for Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Uh, need I go on? And this when my mom was alive. And I said, so why is it we can't look at the great work he did? And why does it matter what he had going on in his personal life? Because on the dominant society, they don't care what you got going on in their personal life. As long as you create a Twitter space or you creating Facebook or Instagram, they will always hail you as one of their own in a hierarchy of need. But you got to be perfect. Why is it, and I'm going to say this to you, my brother, why is it with us, we don't want to listen to each other, but we got to be perfect for somebody to listen to us? Why is that?
Okay. And in all honesty, before I answer that, I didn't know John F. Kennedy was having sex with thousands of women. I know definitely he had a bunch. I didn't know thousands. And that dude ain't never contract no diseases. That's crazy. I didn't know it was thousands.
Oh yeah, he was.
That's
Oh, he
crazy.
was.
I
Bro,
didn't
you
know.
gotta think about it like this. Whatever number the dominant society puts out, it's times 10. So you can times it by 100. They'll never let us know, but you know that's what he was doing, and he's hailed as one of the greatest presidents ever. But when you speak about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it's this decadence with it. It's always like, oh well, he had all those kids and all this other stuff. But it's like, why is it the dominant society? They know how to keep things behind closed doors and praise their own for the great works that they did. But with us, you damn near got to be perfect. Why is that? Why is it we got to be perfect? And why is it we don't want to listen to each other? Hey, what's going on? I see my sister Latanya is in the Twitter space right now. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. Because we developed a respect of persons. We'll only respect you if you can show the glitz and the glamour. We're only going to respect and listen to you if you can show that you have millions or thousands or tens of thousands of followers. Classic point, right? This is a classic point, and this is no disrespect to Tariq Nasheed, right? But you have brothers like Tariq Nasheed and Dr. Umar Johnson. Those are some real cool brothers, and I really value them. Um, but because me and you can give the same message that they are giving right now, but because they have a certain level of recognition, they have a certain level of high followers. People are really not going to listen to us. They're going to pay more attention to Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson. Although we can have the same type of, I guess, accolades. I guess if you want to say, we can say we're trying to open up a school. We're doing documentaries. We wrote books. We can do the same thing. But because we're not Tariq Nasheed, we're not that individual, people would not listen to you and I. So we can say the same thing and it's not going to happen. We developed that respective person. That wasn't always like that though. We're always in search of a leader. And
Mm.
if this leader does not fit our mode, our mood, our characteristics, if it doesn't fit into our lifestyle, if it's not convenient, if this teachings this leader is giving is not convenient, we are not going to follow them. We won't listen to them longer than 3 minutes. This is why you can have people coming in and out of your Twitter space, of your podcast. People come in and out because it's not that we're not saying nothing that make we're not saying we're saying things that make no sense. It's not that. It's because we are not we are not a person that they respect highly.
Let me
Now,
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question because you touched on another point. Let me ask you a question. Do we like, I'm talking about us. I'm talking about us first, and then we'll bring in the dominant society and every other racial group. Do we like drama? Do we like drama? Do we loathe drama? And did we get drama from the dominant society?
where the type of drama that black people love is not the drama that It's not the same drama that I would say this. So the type of drama that we love is more theatrical. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean to say that like as a kindergarten type question type answer, but it's true. We were conditioned to engage in the type of drama and behaviors that we aren't engaging in now. Like black people naturally are highly intelligent. We had to be taught how to be dumb. We had to be taught how to be unintelligent. We had to be taught this. They had to literally make it a law to where we can be killed for learning how to write or read because of how our high level of intelligence. So they have to literally take away resources, everything that we have from around us. They literally got to put us in bands and tie our arms together and just remain silent, tape our mouths and everything. We have to literally be a mute, because even if you leave us around nothing, we'll still make something out of nothing.
Mm, mm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So we love the type of drama that we love now because we've been conditioned to love it. They they make it glamorous through what? Television, movies, videos, because black people watch the most amount of TV than any other race group in the planet, on this world, in this universe. We watch the most amount of TV. So
So let me.
being
So, my bad. I'm gonna jump in because you dropping fire. So why do you think we watch the most television? Because I'm not gonna lie, I stopped watching television once I started doing research and coming into the knowledge. And now when I read stuff, I like to watch TV so I can compare it to what I've read and what I've seen. No matter if it's old books, history books, or especially like I've been reading. Remember, I told you I've been reading a lot of antebellum period books, a lot of antebellum period books. And when I watch TV, what relates to me, my brother, is how most people they don't want to talk about slavery, and we don't want to talk about slavery. We don't want to talk about building the country. When you start talking to the average black person or melanated person about slavery, they feel like you're militant or pro-black or any of that. No, I'm pro my people, meaning that we have to discuss what has what has been done to us. Why is it we watch the most television and we feel like being complacent is normal? And I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about mentally. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, why is it we watch television and we're okay with being one of the number one racial groups to watch television and be entertained by it, but we're okay with being mentally complacent? Why is that?
well, we watch so much. Well, okay. So first of all, we're okay with watching television because we're still looking for a nationality. We're still looking for a personality. And a lot of the times, although this may not be the case for all black folks as a whole, but a lot of individuals, we see ourselves through these characters on TV. We see what we could be or what we want to be. And even if it's not a part of our race group, we inspire to be like that other race group instead of our own. We don't emphasize as black people as a whole. We don't emphasize reading enough because we haven't respected our elders, our scholarly elders, the way that they should have. We haven't pushed them out to the forefront. Many of our children know about John Henry Clark or Ivan Van Sertima.
Okay, let me stop you. You walking down my lane, my brother.
And I knew you was gonna go there. I'm loving this. You walking down my lane. Thank you. Now I'm gonna ask you again, like I always ask you. Do you feel like the black church has played a role in the reason why black folk, for the most part, don't know about our ancestors, our scholars? Because let me tell you, I was not taught about Dr. Claude Anderson. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I never knew who Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima was, Dr. Claude Anderson. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, my brother, you know I'm going to say it again, is because Dr. Claude Anderson was at Fred Price's church in 97 when I was in Los Angeles, California. Now, that's a bold move for Fred Price. Whoever knows Fred Price, I know my sister Latanya does. That dude nationally syndicated, all TV, all over the United States of America. He had Dr. Claude Anderson at his church. Why is it I didn't know about any of these things? And I'm in LA. So do you feel like the black church plays a partial role in why we don't know who our scholars are, like Dr. John Henry Clarke?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you take a look at it, the black churches, um, they play the role that they've played with um, back in the days. I wouldn't say back in the day. I would say in history. The role that they've played has been, a pretty good one in those days, right? You had all black churches that was preaching preaching history and preaching the gospel, preaching the Bible from a black perspective. You had preachers like you said, Pastor Price. You had another one, Reverend Cleve, right? These were black nationalists who stood side by side with like a Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, because when it came to black people, they understood they was black first. The way the churches are now, the black churches, the way the black churches are now, first and foremost, they're not really ran by black folks. They call themselves a black church, but it's not really ran by black folks. They have all these different type of denominations. But if you talk about the black influence here in America, the black influence all across the globe, if you begin to talk about the black influence all in the Bible, you're going to lose your white members and your Latino members. You're going to be lost. They ain't going to stay because they're not going to see themselves in that Bible anymore. You know what I'm saying? The reason why so many people connect to the Bible is because they look at these stories in there and they connect with it and they say, I see myself in that. This is exactly what I was going through. This is the way that I can get through to the next day. They see themselves in there. But when you show the European for the conniving snake that he is, and you show him in that Bible that it's really, when we talk about being born in sin and all, we talking about being born in your society, and that's gonna make them in. They gotta leave. And then not only that, it opens up a whole new book because now you gotta explain some of the errors that's going on in the Bible. I'm not saying that Christianity is wrong, but you would have to explain now Genesis when it says that Adam and Eve were the first people. But then when you take a look at it, the Adam and Eve story happens around 4000 BC. There were Africans already around, established at that time. They had already migrated the world. They had already created the world. They had fire. They had civilizations. They had already done all of these different type of things. They had created families, clans, and tribes. The Africans were already doing these things. Mathematics, literature, all of that stuff was already here. So now these black churches will have to go into, how is that possible? How can you be the first person on a planet when there were people already around that had civilizations, period? And they still have some remnants of these civilizations around now. If you go into that now, all of your black members who are not too happy about being black, they're going to get up and walk out too. Now
Mm.
you have to explain these things. And then when you start explaining how these black folks practice group economics, I know they didn't have dollar bills at that time, but they still practice group economics. Your farming land was my farming land. Just don't take too much of my land. I won't take you. We won't go to war. That's all it is. But you got some, I got some. You know what I'm saying? Your land, you stand on top of gold, I'm on top of gold. There's no fight amongst us. You know what I'm saying? So they would have to explain these things. You know what I'm saying, Warren G? They would have to explain this. And if they explain this, it's going to make a lot of folks mad because you're going against everything that they grew up believing in. When you grew up so wholeheartedly believing in something, when somebody gives you the actual truth, it shakes your foundation because that's the foundation you grew up on. Your foundation you grew up on was, yo, the Middle East is the promised land. The promised land, you know what I'm saying? That's the foundation they grew up on. But when you find out the real promised land is not the Middle East, it's not Israel, it's actually Africa, which is why the whole world is trying to go after it. It's the only continent in the world that is the richest continent in the world that has gold mining. We all know that. Gold, diamonds, all underneath the ground. Why is everybody trying to go after Africa? Everybody's not trying to go after America. They're not trying to go after Asia. They're not trying to go after Europe. They're trying to go after Africa. That was the birthplace. It's only natural. The birthplace of mankind. It's natural for it to be the promised land. But they've tricked us into believing that the Middle East or Israel is the promised land when it's not. There's nothing there. There's no natural resources. You know what I'm saying? So that rocks their foundation and they have to go against what they believe. They're not willing to do that. But you do have some blacks like Reverend Price. I think he's had Claude Anderson on there like twice. Then you got Reverend Cleve, who was a part of the civil rights and the human rights struggle, but from a black nationalist, and can go back and talk to you about black history, African history, African Caribbean history, African American history. They can go back and kick all of this to you, understanding that black is first. You know, so you lose members, you lose money. You lose money, you lose the funding, you lose you lose the power. They're not willing to do that underneath no circumstance. So they're not gonna bring these folks in to talk about it. So this is why a lot of this the black community has a big hole in it, simply because you have the black churches who won't get involved and say, let's take it back to basics. Right. Let's do what Booker T.
Okay, okay,
Washington did.
okay, my brother. Speak on that. Speak on why the black churches won't get involved, because that's what needs to be spoken about. Why won't they get involved?
The black churches won't get involved because they don't run the church. They simply don't run it. You have these it's simple game that they've been doing all of these years for centuries. They send when it came time for the Europeans to invade in on Africa, just fight, just hand to hand combat. They could not really get into the land. So what did they do? They sent their missionaries first because they knew we are spiritual people. So they sent their missionaries first. And then they got a couple of us to join in with their missionary churches and with their building up their church and their temples. And then they took our land from us and took our freedom, everything. They do the same thing here right now, today. They send their missionaries out, build up a church, put black people there as a so-called representation. But the boss, the actual owner, it's not one of us. They're white folk. They are straight up white folk. Even if we go and open up a church right now, if I go and open up a church right now, I still, if I'm going to have my church built from the ground up, I still got to go and consult a European, a white person, because they own and control the banks. They own and control the major construction companies that's going to build my church up. Not only that, the funds that come to me under under their policies, there's certain things I have to abide by. So if their policy is, yo, you know what, we'll allow you to have this church now, but you can't speak up against homosexuals. You can't speak out against the gay community. You can't speak out against white racism. If we hear you speaking out against that, we're pulling your funding, we're shutting the church down. This is what they do. Not only that, you have a lot of blacks who have mastered the art of the game of hustle. You know, pay your tithes, bring all your money to me. So instead, the group economics is not being taught. Instead, the individual economics, which is you give your money to me because God said so. Well, then you're going to always end up broke, and even if you're not broke, you're going to be placed in a situation to where as soon as you get your money, go and give it to who? The pastor. Who's the pastor giving this money to? I mean, we all know he's going to take out his cut, but who is he giving it out to as well? He don't just get all that money and keep it. He got to pay his master back, the missionary that sent him. So they're not going to speak out against this, man. They're not going to look to educate black folks because it's against the white power structure. It goes against everything, every one of their morals. Their moral is not to. They cannot have black people believing that we have a shot at being in power. Not even a shot. So they're not going to allow our brothers and sisters to speak out on this matter when it comes to the church, man. The Arabian Muslims won't allow our black Muslim brothers and sisters to do the same either.
Man, you drop facts, man. Hey, look, I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate you weathering the storm. You know, today, man, Twitter's been kind of tripping, and then I've been having reception issues. And then, I'm pretty sure your reception where you at, people don't even know you 3 hours ahead of me, so you're taking time out. And that's what, I spoke about. And like I said, you already know, I want your podcast and your stuff to blow up. Me, I like doing what I do. Maybe I'm a little complacent, but I kind of like that because just to speak to a little bit of your point, I'll say this. You're right. We're saying the same thing. But then I'm going to piggyback on this. We want a hero. So when we stop herofying people and placing them in these boxes and just watching the content for what it is, I think we'll all be better people. And I appreciate it, man. I can't wait till next Wednesday. Hey, man, everybody check out No Compromise Podcast. I always pump it. Erica finally followed me on Twitter, so I'm pretty sure she's going to follow you. And, man, we going to get it popping, man.
She followed me. It was good to see her on, man. She brought up a really good comment, too, saying that how the churches are controlled by the government. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, man. They're not really the government is the missionary. They're not
Yup.
they're not going to speak out against they're not going to speak out against their master. It takes a
They-
special black to do that.
and you know what? You're right, man. Honestly, we need to do a part two, and we need to do it. You know what? That's my next topic. I'm already telling you, man. So I'm gonna be doing some research on some questions. I'm gonna hit you with because you know our group in church. So I'm gonna just go do a little bit of research. But I
I
already know
got
what
a
I'm gonna
lot to
ask you.
say about that.
Yeah,
I got a lot to say about that one because you know what I mean. Like I grew up in same as you, brother. Like you know, had to go to church a lot, and you know, see things a little differently now. I see things
hey,
different.
look, I'm telling you, I'm gonna hit you with some cool and be restoring the black church. That's what this twist, restoring the black church, restoring us and restoring the black church because I feel like that. Man, I appreciate you, you know, coming on the Twitter space, man. Be safe, man. Get you some rest, relax, man, and then we're gonna reconvene around the same time next week. That cool?
That's cool, man. I can't wait.
All right, man, my brother. Hey, man, you be safe, be good, and I'll be uploading this onto the YouTube page probably tonight sometime. All right,
All right, my brother. I appreciate you, man. You be safe now.
all right, you too.
All right.